Anyway, it says, go ahead and
Yes, Miss Harris.
give us the quick 100.
Okay, well, my name is Cynthia Harris, and I'm running for County Commissioner for District 6. District 6 composes of the southern portion past Silver Star of Pine Hills, the western border of Hiawassee to Good Homes Road is kind of a jagged line, traveling south of Hiawassee all the way past Sand Lake Road, headed back east again all the way to Orange Blossom Trail. So the neighborhoods includes pieces of Pine Hills, Orla Vista, Metro West, Carver Shores, Pine Hills, Mercy Drive, Holden Heights, the Paramore community, Tangelo Park. Those are the basic districts that comprises of District 6. So you wanted to know about my
Yes,
my early beginnings. Well, I never thought I would have ran for office. I have run before. I ran for city commissioner, which is a little bit different, but pretty much the same job. I was born in Mississippi. I was raised here, so I've spent all of my childhood here and most of my adult life here. I am an only child, so I don't have any siblings. I have 2 daughters. I have 4 grandchildren, but I raised 10 children. So I raised my godchildren as well. So I am a mom and everybody's mom, so to speak. I live in Malibu Groves. That's where I grew up. And I've seen the changes here in Orlando. I've seen the gentrification. We are losing our houses because of gentrification. We are losing our houses because of predatory investors who are coming in and asking for our property, not giving us anything of value. Gentrification. That's a fancy word for pushing you out of your community.
Okay.
So when we were segregated, we were pushed in communities that nobody wanted to live. Now they don't have anywhere to build. They want our land the same way they came in, and they pushed the Indians out of their areas that they lived in. That's the same thing that they're doing in black communities, not just ours, but all over the country. So we're not specifically targeted. It's a national thing. So a lot of our historical places, like in the Paramore district when we were segregated, such as the Carver Theater, some of the housing projects are now being gentrified because they'll be gone soon because they're slated for demolition. So it's very important that we keep our land because even the Gullahs, they got it right. They understood the value of land. Our forefathers understood the value of land. So it's up to us to go back to our ancestral beginnings and understand the value of land. It's the same thing they did to Africa. They came in and they took our land. And now the countries are mostly ran by people who don't look like us, even though we are the majority population.
So what would you actually be, like we would come to you if you win, when you win?
So as the county commissioner, we were discussing earlier about the different roles in the different elected positions. Local positions are more important than anybody because they affect us immediately. We were talking earlier about congressional districts. Congressional District 10 is held by Val Demings. She's now running for Senate. That is a federal position. That is the office that your main office is in Washington, D.C. People focus on the presidential election. They focus on the governor's race. And they focus on federal elections. But most importantly, we need to make sure that our county mayors, our city mayors, our city and county commissioners, that we pick them right, we vet them properly. Because what happens is people that look like us are typically not for us. And we find that in the decision making that they do. As an elected official, I'm the voice and the representative. I work for you, not the other way around. People have got it twisted and think that because they're in an elected position that they're the most powerful person. They are powerful because they make decisions that affects us. Mm-hmm. However, this is the only business that if you've never had a business, you're in charge. You're the CEO. You're the one that writes the check because your vote hires and fires that person that represents you. Until we understand that, we'll still keep doing the same things, expecting different results. So with the commission seat, how your garbage is taken care of, I fight for that. How your roads...
How the garbage is taken care of?
Meaning, right now, we have garbage once a week. We used to have garbage service twice a week. Commissioners made that decision.
So wait, I didn't want to cut you. Mm-hmm. So you're saying garbage once a week. That means your garbage and your recycle is on the same day?
Mm-hmm. Not always on the same day, but they're pickup.
They used to have 2 different pickups for either a week, like maybe a Monday and a Wednesday, or Wednesday
Tuesday and
Friday,
Thursday.
So
when was that? I don't remember my garbage.
Yeah, when I was
15 years, I don't remember.
When we was growing up, they
garbage pickup changed probably in the last maybe 6 years.
15 years in my house, and I don't remember it never been picked up twice.
The trash out?
Yeah.
We was the one taking it out, so I knew.
So 15 years, I'm old enough that I
probably the last 6 years is when they changed the garbage to once a week versus twice a week. So that was a decision that the county commissioners made collectively to decide how many times a week your garbage is picked up.
Well, the thing is that is my tax money going to go to that? Because I don't think I need my trash picked up more than once a week.
Your tax money does go to that. If you look at your bill, you'll see that there is a line there for waste management.
But my garbage don't be full. I mean, it be full once a week. It don't be full twice a week. It really don't.
But I mean, everybody's not the same.
Right.
Bigger households require more trash pickup.
Yes.
But the thing, okay.
You're just arguing.
I don't want to go long. I'm having a conversation, but see what he likes to do. I'm serious. Like when I didn't recycle, my garbage would full. But when I started to really recycle, it'd be my water bottles, my juice. If you separate it, the actual trash, what I cooked with, it was not fill up that big.
Are you a family of one or are you a family of more?
A family of 5.
Well, maybe you are doing something a little bit different than others when it comes to waste management. Because
if you separate it, the recycle.
But regardless,
in the recycle bin.
And then it goes where?
What do you mean?
They pick it up too, right?
Yeah.
So neither one of those
gets picked up on one day, the other one gets picked up the other day.
Do you do compost? Do you compost your garbage?
What does that mean?
That means like your fruits and vegetables, do you compost them so that you can put them in your garden or in your yard?
Oh, no.
Because sometimes that reduces waste.
Yeah, but who got time for all that? Let me mince this
I agree. I mean, I gotta say we need multiple times, but I'm saying when I'm rolling my garbage out, it's to the rim.
Yeah.
Right.
It's to the rim. But I wouldn't imagine a whole nother day that I'm paying my tax for.
Well,
most people.
She's just saying you.
So they would increase taxes if they make it another day.
Oh, just move it.
Actually, you're paying the same amount for less pickup now.
Oh.
It's just like when you go in the store, you might get a bag of chips.
Right.
That bag of chips got more air in it, right. and it costs more. Or that bag of chip is reduced in size and you're paying more in price.
Right.
So it varies. So, garbage pickup, we have a flooding issue. That is something that is decided by the commissioners in the budget. We have a budgeting every year where you allocate money for your districts. That's what a commissioner fights for, to make sure that your roads, that your garbage, that transportation, things of that matter is taken care of immediately, because those are the things that affect you immediately when decisions are made. So on the federal level, they bring down money that is distributed between the states distributed between the municipalities,
Right.
which affects you. So we fight for that money. We lobby with our state leaders and our federal leaders to make sure that we get our fair share of the money that needs to be allotted in our community. But in the past, we've gotten that money through our demographics. They use our demographics to get that money, but it's not distributed properly, so we have no equity. We always ask for equality, but we don't get the equity. Without equity, there is no equality. So that means that if $100,000 is supposed to be equally split between the districts,
Right.
that's equality. With the equity, my district may need more money than that split. And that's where equity comes in. So we have to make sure that we get the proper equity, because it may take, out of that 100,000, it may take 30,000 of that 100,000 for us to handle certain things, but it may require a little bit more. We may need 60% of that $100,000 versus the other communities who really don't need.
So you're a Democrat.
I am.
And Val Demings,
She's a Democrat.
and she was doing the position.
No.
Who's doing the position?
Currently, the seat is held by Victoria Sipling.
Victoria Sipling.
Yes.
And so Victoria Sipling decided that she don't think we need garbage picked up. She don't think we have a...
Well, she's only one vote. So what happens is there are 6 commissioners and a mayor. They collectively agreed upon that garbage pickup would be once a week versus twice a week. So if I was commissioner right now and I said that I wanted to have garbage pickup return back to twice a week, I need the support of all the other commissioners in order to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't happen overnight.
How much vote do you need?
How much vote I need?
Vote, I mean,
I think it
is
means
is
like
it all
it's-
6 you
does
need,
it have-
or
everybody has to be
It,
unanimous.
it has to be
majority?
50% majority. So there are 6 commissioners and the mayor. So
And the mayor makes up 7 then.
right. So if 3 commissioners say yes and 3 commissioners say no, the mayor is the swing vote. So it has to be at least 4 people say yes to a decision.
And does the Congress work on Democrat, Republican, or just a commissioner? Sorry, the commissioner role.
For Congress,
No, I'm saying commissioner for your.
for commissioner, I would work with my state representative and my state senate. I would work with my federal senator and my House representative in order to assist with funding. They fight for funding to come down, but I have to tell them what the people need in order to get that funding.
Right. So I'm saying the 6 that are voted in for that district, for that area, right? So District 6 is going to be you alone, or is it 6 of you in District 6?
No, there's only one person.
One of you, okay.
See, there's 6 county commissioners,
Right.
and the districts are labeled 1 through 6.
Okay, I got you. Okay.
And the mayor is the governing body of the entire county.
So when you get that position, you're not running against. What I'm saying is that when you're running for commissioner, is it running? You are a Democrat running against a Republican, or just anyone runs it?
It's a nonpartisan race,
Okay,
so
gotcha.
there is no declaration of whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, because anybody can run for that seat.
Gotcha.
District 6 has been basically a Democratic seat.
Just like that.
So if you had to grade Kamala Harris and this guy,
Biden?
Joe Biden.
I know his name, I'm just saying. You know.
No comment.
What grade would you give them?
Well, I'd probably give them a C right now. And the reason I would give them a C is not because everything is their fault. They're doing the best they can. They're, just like I was saying about the local race, they're one voice. But they have the power of veto over 535 members of Congress. So when you see the congressional votes for different bills, you may see everybody go down party line. They're the swing vote. They can make a decision, but they also have to weigh out the the greater good of everybody else.
But then they should stop saying that I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
Well,
if you vote for me, I'm going to do this. They need to say I'm going
Right.
to try, because
then
that's a
people
lie.
Well,
Right,
because-
people are let down when they don't get it done.
And that's why it's your job to hold them accountable. See, we accept too many things in our leaders, but if you hold them accountable, again, you are the CEO, you the HNIC, you are the one that hire and fire when it comes to politics. A lot of people want to say, I don't get involved in politics, that it's not for me. Everything that affects you is politics. It's all political. And if you don't like the job that Biden is doing, you use the stroke of your ballot and vote him out.
So how would you grade Trump?
Ugh.
We have to grade. You have to grade somebody. You have to put aside, your thoughts on that action. But we talking about the worth ethic.
Trump was a nightmare, and it showed even with the January 6th committee. My issue with that is, if it had been one of us, we'd already be in prison right now. We have to hold the people that make those decisions accountable to make sure that they do their job for things that affect us the most.
I think that I feel like I had a better term with Trump than I did with Obama. No pun intended, no offense to nobody, but honestly, that's how I feel. What I felt was really disgusting, though, was Trump's mouth. I feel like if he was a mute and he still did what he did without the words, it wouldn't have been so bad.
Yeah, I agree.
But I had a lot more breaks and stuff during Trump than I did with Obama. I felt like I had nothing but punishments during that time. Everything went up.
And then we being punished again now.
Yeah, the healthcare. It's right now. It's like
yeah. We were punished before. We
you
got a break.
also have
we
to think
again.
about, and I've heard this even back when Reagan was in office. A lot of people say, "Oh well, Reagan was the best thing that happened to us." It all depends on what your circumstances are. Certain circumstances will provide you better equity. So there are things that I felt that the Obama administration should have did, especially in their last term, because it was their last term. However, there are things that I feel that the Biden administration should be doing right now, but who's holding them accountable? We're sitting there allowing people to do what they want to do, but we're in charge. We're the ones that hold the power.
It's hard to hold Biden accountable, though, because I be seeing reporters like, excuse me, Mr. President.
He doesn't even know what's going on.
Now.
He doesn't even know what's going on.
He won't speak to nobody. You just, But I did have a question about, because I heard you said, they're trying to gentrify and tear down the projects and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And again, no offense to anybody who lives in the projects. But I do want to ask, if they don't knock them down and rebuild, what would be the other alternative to just, because I feel like putting any money into it would be a dump. Like, it'll be a dump of the money, because I feel like places are projects not necessarily only because of your circumstances. Yes, that does have a play to do with it, but it's also because of the mindset and mentality of the person too. So sometimes you do have to knock those places down and start over, but at the same time, I don't feel like just having that house is going to make anybody's life better or worse, because those people need other resources to get them out of that mind frame in order to do better. You
got to be pushed.
Because even whether they gentrify or not, let's say they jack the rents up or whatever, but some of those people are still wanting to stay there. They go stay there. They can turn that place into a project. So it's more so about the resources. For me, I don't feel like, they should just come in and just knock stuff down. But there are a lot of places that I do believe that they do need to infiltrate those places and just knock them down.
I feel that the project should be rebuilt, but I think there is a better way of handling the way they're doing it. You shouldn't knock down a housing project to make people homeless and they have nowhere else to go. And that's what's happening with rent increases and different things of that nature. When you raise my rent, but my income is not getting any higher to meet the demands of the rent, that puts me out on the street. That puts me on somebody else's couch. That puts me in a hotel that I could be still in the same dwelling if I could afford to stay there. Now, there are 6 housing projects that are slated for demolition that the city of Orlando has filed a permit for to have them torn down. However, I don't feel that you should displace someone with nowhere to go.
But how much time notice are they giving them?
Well, because of the pandemic, most of them was supposed to already be almost halfway.
But how long?
So Griffin Park which pretty much half of it's already been demoed. It was slated for 2027.
No, but I mean, when they tell them, okay, you have 12 months, you have 6 months, we're tearing, like how much time are they giving them to prepare themselves to move on or whatever they're going to do?
Well, if you don't have a job that pays more than minimum wage, it's very hard for you to save to go somewhere else. So
Is the government assisting with moving you somewhere else, or are they just telling you to? Because if you're living in an area of low,
Right, because most of the people in the projects are already on some type of
so
government
are they
assistance.
helping?
Well, I mean, how much notice are
Would
they
it
giving them?
transfer?
What does it matter?
some people have already been transferred.
But how much notice?
They
'Cause if
get,
you knew 2 years ago and you decided that 5 years ago you knew and you still like
You're going to
how
ride
lo-
it out, right?
Right. How much
well,
notice
I think
do
the
they have?
pandemic has caused some people to ride it out. So, every individual is different. So I can't say, okay, well, this person should have prepared better. I honestly couldn't tell you that they gave them enough notice to do anything. What they did was they advertised that these units were being scheduled for demolition. So that was the notice that they had. However, if you're making minimum wage and they're displacing you with no other recourse, like some people have been told that if they get a voucher to Tampa to go, well, that makes it hard if your job is here, if your support system like family is here, to go all the way to Tampa, and then you got to try to figure out if you can get a job, if the job is going to pay enough for you to pay your portion of the rent. So those are other factors and other dynamics. And then, of course, people that are not in the projects, their paycheck's short from being homeless themselves because a lot of dynamics can happen. The pandemic just happened, and it affected us all. So some people lost their jobs. Some people still haven't been able to recover from a 2-year pandemic to even be at the status that they were prior to the pandemic.
I just remember, like, I had a kid at 15. I had every, like, I was not, like, I had government assistance if I wanted. I had food stamps if I wanted. I could go to school free. I can get this class, that class, financial aid. There's so much I got because I had a kid. So
and
these
you were
women
self-motivated to make sure that you got out of that position.
If they decide that they don't want to be self-motivated, and we told you we're knocking this building down, you have chosen.
Right,
that is correct.
If you're not self-motivated, there's really nothing nobody can really do for you anyways.
Exactly.
And anything that they do, even the government assistance, I'm sounding like my grandma.
Well,
it's just enabling
I think
at that point.
The main thing she was saying that the people in there was given some time. The pandemic then came along and stopped them. So even if they was in the process of going, let's say I was saving up my money, then I lost my job now. Now I need the help back again. And I'm still here.
Correct.
Now you're still telling me the deadline is still there.
Correct.
To go forward with. So I'm in a terrible situation than before the situation. So she's just saying that, these parts are slated for demolition. These people are need to move. She's just saying they need maybe more time.
Everybody's situation is different.
Rashida has a question here.
Hold on. Let's not jump over to that. I see it. Let's not move
well,
over to that. She did it.
But she's not saying to give them more time. She's saying to rebuild it.
Right. So
right.
Why not build up something that's if the people are there, you can go from building to building and just build it up. The people are there.
Well, justification for the demolition is because they're so old. A lot like Griffin Park was built in the 50s. So it still has the original plumbing in it. It has mold. It's old.
Right.
Those units need to be made habitable. So like in Liberty City, they have a project unit down there. What they did was the ones that were in the worst condition, they moved those people out without displacing them to the streets and built something on that same property better. So it's kind of like you see the schools that were built in our district. The children still remained in the school until the new school was built, and then they moved them over, and then they tore down the old school. Not just tear it down with them nowhere to go.
I think I understand what you're saying. I do. But the more that I think on it, I find some reasons as to why some of these places might not have been rebuilt or kept up to date. Because when you look at the projects, the reality of it is that a lot of them are either run by slum landlords or they're run by contracted out to other like leasing companies to manage them, or a lot of times people are scared to go in there. So let's say you own a property and you're not even getting all your rent, but you just like, as long as you're getting something, you're not gonna worry about it, because if you go in there, you might get shot. So you're not gonna want to go in there. You're not gonna want to change the toilet. You're not gonna want to change the light bulbs. You're not gonna want to do a lot of upkeep and stuff like that. So when you look at it from that angle and say, well, we should rebuild. Well, if the owner ain't gonna want to go in there and do it, they're not gonna want to hire a crew and send them in there. Or if somebody new comes and purchases the place and sees the condition of it, they're not gonna want to dump money into it to rebuild the place because it will look better, but you have the same people in there, so you're not making back the money that you put into it.
Well,
so
let me ask: does the Orange County or the district own those buildings?
No. The city of Orlando owns all of the projects that are in our community.
So it's basically the government.
The government,
so those are
government-owned
property.
It's government-owned property.
So the government then allowed it
Correct.
to get to where it is now.
Correct.
Without fixing that along the way.
Correct.
Just answering your question, you said so the government didn't help.
Those are
People them
city-owned.
were, and people don't stay there forever.
These people
Right.
ruin stuff in
Move
one
out
day.
eventually.
They can ruin stuff
But
in a day.
everybody
those
is not in that same dish. We have to stop putting a stigma on everybody in our community, because everybody don't want to be homeless. Everybody don't want to be poor. So we have to stop putting that stigma on our own people, and we have to build them up, because if we don't build them up, who will?
No, but see, then that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm not trying to put a stigma on them. But the reality is, it drives me crazy to see sheets hung up in windows and stuff when the Dollar Tree is, dollar stores
Absolutely.
selling now.
Absolutely.
But I'm not trying to put a stigma on them, but that is why I said that. Instead of, the tearing down or the rebuilding, like what they need are resources. They need people. Maybe they don't know that.
Exactly.
Maybe,
But they put it out there because I knew about it. I was 15 and I knew about my resources.
But you knew.
Right.
The next person may not know that. So it's up to us to say, well, hey, did you know that they offer ABC, XYZ?
No, but they're not giving you this assistance. They're not giving you public assistance without checking on you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
Did you
even
look
go
for work?
They're
asking you have a social worker. Did you look for work? Yeah, but you can't do that.
Let me ask you this: even if you know, right? So knowing is one thing, but actually able to do it is another thing. So maybe the situation is that
Why can't you
they're
do it?
hurt. Maybe they're.
They got disability.
I'm not saying. I'm not.
Then they got
listen,
disability.
I'm not saying that.
You know what I want to
I'm
say?
not saying anyone is incorrect. I'm not saying you guys are wrong. That could be the circumstance with some people.
Everybody's
But
circumstance
some
is
people
different.
are different.
But I was wondering the other day when I was driving past the library and like nobody was in there. Are those back open? Do we have libraries anymore?
We do.
Yeah, one is right
So
down
they're
the street.
back open?
They
Well,
are.
I drove by one the other day, but it looked
One
like
is right down the street.
It looked
Pass
like
it all the
you can
time.
hear the crickets outside, and I grew up like being in the library all the time.
The libraries are open. However, we have to be our brothers and sisters keeper, because if we're not our brothers and sisters keeper, you knew at 15, but what the next 15-year-old know?
But I didn't know it. I was taught. Like you know
Somebody
what I'm saying?
taught you.
No, but The agencies told me
Maybe
this
the
is
agency is
available.
it's not good.
This is available. This is available for you.
Okay, but you were able to use the agency. Everyone is not knowledgeable or not self-motivated to use an agency. Someone had to tell you that that's what you needed to do so that you were motivated to do so.
Right, but
everyone
if
is
you're
not privy to that.
You're just not going to be self-motivated. Like, what's going to make
Right.
you?
So let me ask you. So you're saying just put them out,
What I'm saying.
or you're saying that they should have had enough time by now? That I'm just getting
That's
so we
what
can
I'm
move
saying.
on.
I
from
think
the
they
whole
were
argument.
notified enough time.
But you don't
that
know.
place is closing down. Go find the next
If
affordable place.
I'm saying if you're
for
saying
you.
if.
Right.
But if they're labeled, if I looked at you and I said, oh well, you're lazy, you don't want to work, and I don't know anything about you, I don't know your past history, but I've already put that stigma on you and made a judgment call about you that was certainly untrue. Mm-hmm. You can't put that judgment on everybody because everybody, they could be in your situation, but they don't have the education or they don't have anybody to support them when they're educated. So I can tell you, well, did you know that there was a scholarship on the high school level so that you can go to school, have your baby, and do this? If no one is telling you those things,
Right, that's why I wanted to know.
or walking you through it, you have to crawl before you can walk. So if you don't have elected leaders that give you that information about the resources, we have plenty of resources in our community, but we don't know about all of them.
So let me just ask, is it when you're elected,
Mm-hmm.
would you be the one governing over that or sitting in the meetings that says, okay, this is the information that we need to give to the people that are in these search
That is
conventions?
correct, because a lot of times you have elected officials that they have that information, but they only give that information to their inner circle. Everyone should have access to information. And if we don't have access to information, we don't know that we need to do these things so that we can be self-sufficient.
Well,
Okay.
I think they should make some of the meetings mandatory for some
I'm
of the
just
people in the
saying,
project.
I was
What-
that
what-
I was
Hold
that
on, hold on.
15-year-old, and
through
that
the
that
different-
information was
But-
pushed on me.
but
I
that-
didn't have to go look for it.
Exactly.
All right, so
They gave it to me.
Somebody invested in you to give you that information. Not every 15-year-old is going to have that investment from
Well, is
someone.
there-
Hold on. Let's move
You
on.
always saying,
hold
hold
on.
on.
We have time, you know. We're up on a time limit. So we agree with what Shelley's saying. Information is vital.
Correct.
And we all need to move forward in life, right? No matter what situation you start into, if it's not good, move forward in it. I agree with getting the information.
No, but also time matters.
Okay,
so
but
if
we don't-
That's why I wanted to know about
And
the
she
time.
said she didn't know exactly.
Because if you had enough time, you have to get used to change.
Correct.
They cannot think that it's going to stay like that.
And
They
we
have
agree.
to get used to change. So if
We
they
agree.
can rip
We
that
agree.
building
We
down
agree. We agree.
and change it to more modern
knock it
type
down.
of building.
I don't agree
As
with
a
that.
15-year-old
gotta-
young mother,
I
you
don't
had
say
to get
don't
used to
anything.
change. You
Yes.
had to adjust the
Yes.
fact that you were going to be a
Yes.
mother. You had to adjust that you had to have responsibility for another life
Yes.
and another human being. However, everybody is not going to be on the same pace as you.
And we agree. So let's move on. We have a lot of more questions. People are texting in the chat. They will have their questions to ask too and everything. So people, if you don't know, who's sitting in front of us is Cynthia Harris. She's running for commissioner of District 6.
And she sure is running. She's doing a
So,
great job in running.
So we have a question now that the person that's in the position right now, right? So she's been there for how many years? So far?
8 years.
8 years.
Yeah,
So
Miss
is her
Sipling,
time
Victoria
up,
Sipling.
or she can just continue going?
No, if you get each term is 4 years.
Okay.
So in the county, you can be elected twice for a total of 8 years.
Okay.
And that's a term limit. Just like the president can serve 8 years, term limit. Congressional seats, there are no term limits. City commission seats, there are no term limits.
Right.
So we have a question for you. It says, what separates Victoria Sipling and what she has done so far for District 6 from what you plan to do?
I plan on being more available. A lot of people don't even know who their commissioner are. So on the local level, you know who your your congressional person is, you know who your governor is, you know who your president. But do you know who your state rep is? Do you know who your state senate is? Do you know who your commission? A lot of people don't even know who they are. My intent as the next commissioner is to be more visible in the community and more available so that we can make sure that we have the information needed, because I live in Malibu Groves. I know what goes on in my neighborhood. I can't speak for Pine Hills unless Pine Hills can have a connection with me. I can't speak for Carver Shores unless Carver Shores has a connection with me. That's going to be the difference between myself and the current leadership that we have, is the availability and the access to connectivity and communication.
So we're not actually voting out this new that government body that's there now. Their term is just up.
Her term is up, correct.
So technically, someone new will be filling that void.
That is correct.
You're saying it's just going to be you, right? So we're going to say it's you. So, and you're planning on serving the 8 years. And so you mentioned that people don't know who is their state anything, right? So we don't know the commissioner. We don't know probably the police officer. We don't know anything. But why is that? We only know the president and the people running for maybe the House of Representatives and the Senate. And they seem to get a lot of news.
Media plays an important role.
They get a lot of news.
Media plays a lot of important role in elections as far as getting information out. However, if your commissioner is not engaged in the community, just like I said, I can speak for Malibu because I live there. I know what's going on a regular basis. I can't speak for other communities. You need to have access to those people. A lot of times I talk to people and they say, like I live in the city also, so I vote twice. A lot of people say, oh, well, we just had an election and we just voted, but now you have a county race. You have 2 mayors. There are some people that are in what they call unincorporated Orange County, so they're not in the city limits of Orlando. They only vote once. So they don't know about the municipal races such as City of Orlando, Apopka, Ocoee. Those are people who live in those municipalities. They vote twice. And if they just vote in the city races where they are located, they forget about the county race. Because everybody talks about the governor's race. Everybody talks about the congressional race. Everybody talks about the presidential race. But the municipal races and those that are governing bodies that affect you immediately, no one talks about them. So therefore, if you don't have visibility and you don't go and vote, you end up with what you get.
So right now, the governor for Florida, right? Is that who you will be like governing you also?
Correct. The governor, whoever, we got an election in November for the governor. So the primary is August 23rd. So everybody that's running for governor, everybody that's running for commissioner, certain municipalities, they have a mayoral race that they're voting for their mayor, will be on August 23rd. Whoever gets that for their party, because we are a nonpartisan state, so if you're a Democrat, you can only vote for a Democrat in August. If you're Republican, you can only vote for a Republican in August. But in November, you can vote Democrat or Republican because the races become nonpartisan.
You mentioned that your race is not anybody.
It is a nonpartisan race. However, the Democrats have held that seat. That's a primary seat that has been slated for Democrats. Okay. However, a Republican can run for that seat.
So what are the other commissioners that are running, without naming names? What are they going for that you don't like, that you could mention?
There are 2, 4, and 6 are running in the commissioner race. Honestly, I couldn't tell you their platform because I'm focusing on District 6 and Cynthia Harris. My goal is to make sure that Cynthia Harris becomes the next elected official for District 6. So I can't speak for commissioner for District 2. I can't speak for District 4. I know who the current commissioners are for those districts. However, I don't know their platform. I don't know what their goals is. As I stated before, I can talk about what I've seen in District 6 in the communities and talk to the people what their needs are and what's important to them. I couldn't tell you what's going on in Ocoee, which is a District 2. I can't tell you what's going over Alachua District 5 commissioner, because all of their needs are goal specific and based on how they live in their districts. But in District 6, we deal with flooding. We deal with housing, the homeless. We have the majority of the homeless camps in our district. We have everything that nobody else wants in their district. We get all of the leftover in the garbage. So our district is industrial, meaning you have where I live, there's an industrial area where there are body repair shops,
Factories.
different factories.
But there's a shelter. Why are they homeless? The shelter is
Well, a lot of those shelters, you got to be there by like 4 or 5 o'clock.
And they don't wanna be on curfew.
If you try to work and you get off later than that, you can't go to the shelter. So
Right.
you can still be in a shelter and be displaced, which is really weird. I be talking to the homeless people. I do.
And your mama worked in that population
And
too.
my mom worked in that population before. Mm-hmm.
So the mission, they put the mission on Colonial Drive. They have to be in line at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in order to secure a spot for them to lay their heads at night. Well, if you get pushed out at 6 a.m., you have to be back there by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What if your job don't let you out till 5 o'clock? You have nowhere to sleep because you're still trying to work. So there are a lot of disadvantages and a lot of hidden things that people have to understand with these shelters. Shelters are just a Band-Aid. So the best shelter that we used to have was Anthony House. Anthony House people, they had financial planning there. Everybody was a village. Everyone helped each other. They had daycare on the premises. People cooked and took care of one another.
And what happened to it?
Some mismanagement happened years ago, and it has changed hands many times. So what they used to have is not what they have now. Anthony House currently serves women with addiction who have children. But, shelters they're a cash cow. They're a money maker. It's a business now. It's not really designed to help people move forward. Because like I said, if you're restricted, maybe you got some overtime and you're trying to save your money. But if you got that opportunity for overtime and you got to be back at the shelter at 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what do? Go to work or figure out where you're going to lay your head at night? So you have a lot of different extra burdens that you're placed upon versus a family who's living in a motel. There's no restriction except for I got to work a bunch of jobs to make sure that I pay that weekly rent so that my family can stay there. But I really don't have anywhere to cook. I'm crowded in a room that might have 2 beds in there, and I got 4 kids and a husband, or I got 6 kids and it's just a single parent, and I'm trying to squeeze me and my kids in that little room.
I have 2 questions. One says, what is the primary voting date? I think you said that was August 23rd.
August 23rd. Early vote starts August 8th and ends at August 21st.
Mm-hmm. And then the other question I was asked says, what are your action plans besides being more present? Are there any improvements that you want to enforce? What other things, other than the projects, being more present, those type of things? Do you have certain things that you already have in mind that you want to improve upon?
I'd like to see more job fairs that are actually job fairs. A lot of people go to job fairs, they get dressed up, and those job fairs don't hire anybody. Also, when job fairs are in our community, they're usually for high school jobs like Burger King and McDonald's. There are plenty of people who are educated that come from the hood. I'd like to see jobs that are actually hiring that will provide more than an entry-level job so that people can survive and sustain with proper income. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see better transportation. When the funding comes, the funding is not allocated or distributed equally. Well, it's distributed equally, but not enough equity, because they just got $300,000 in transportation dollars. It's slated for Cimarron. We don't live off of Cimarron. Families should not have to spend 5 hours catching a bus to go somewhere.
I barely knew the buses still run.
Well, when I was a kid, buses ran every 30 minutes, and they were broke down.
Yeah.
Now they run every hour and they broke down, and the connectivity is horrible. If I took the bus from Malibu to downtown, typically the bus that I need to connect to is leaving as I am entering the terminal downtown, or the Sunrail is leaving as I enter downtown. Connectivity is terrible. I have clients who are on dialysis. They have to schedule an appointment 3 hours prior to their appointment to get to their appointment on time. If they're done with dialysis, there's a 15-minute cool down. If dialysis is behind schedule and they've scheduled their transportation to pick them up at 10 o'clock and they're still on the machine, Lynx leaves them. And if they can't get on another person's manifesto, they're stranded. So they got to figure out if I can call somebody to come and pick me up so I can get home, or can I afford that Uber to get home? So transportation is viable for our community to make sure that we get around, but it also needs to be transportation that's viable enough that we're not spending unnecessary time on a bus versus the time that we could be spending it with our families. So if I got a 5-hour trip and I got an 8-hour job, I'm away from home for 13 hours of my day. Plus, buses are supposed to stop running at midnight. In my neighborhood, they start running at 10.
So, Cynthia, again, thanks for being part of Pillow Talk here. Question to you. Mm-hmm. So we've heard the things you want to do, but what are your qualifications even for us to believe that you can get this done? I mean, I know it says, I've read some of your background, it says you've been in transportation for years. That's why you're speaking so well of the transportation system now, because it's been probably your forte. We heard that you have a criminal justice degree. So how do we know you're going to get it, or you're going to put those agendas forward once you get the position?
Well, a lot of people think that you have to have degrees and certifications and things like that. You got women in Congress that were just merely housewives before they got to Congress. Life, it qualifies you for the position. Being a mom, being a single parent, being a married woman, that qualifies you. If you love your community and you value the things that are important to you as well as the things that are important to your family, you also value the things that are important to other families. So that's what qualifies me, because I've seen the changes. I live in the neighborhood. I grew up here, and we can do and we deserve better. That's what qualifies me. It has nothing to do with the fact that I have a degree in criminal justice. It does not define that I have 9 FDLE certifications. It does not define that I have 5 FEMA certifications. What defines me is the fact that I live in this community, I love it, I care about it, and we can do better.
And it doesn't hurt that you have those things. But, okay, so you spoke about the transportation, and again, you've been part of that system now. You've been doing it in Orlando, in the Orange County area for all these years? Mm-hmm. Okay. And we know Lynx is the transportation system.
Correct.
Did you work directly with them?
I actually worked for DOT. So I worked on the expressway, what they call now the Expressway Authority. So I spent five and a half years on the Expressway Authority. So I've worked in a state prison. So I did transportation. I pretty much ran a prison. So I've transported inmates throughout the entire state. So those are the things that are my experiences, that I've seen the changes. I've seen things that we can improve upon. and do better.
Okay, so we're gonna switch to worldly. But do you guys have any more? Direct.
No,
Kelly.
I do want
I'm
to.
scared to ask anything now.
Oh, take
Why?
Andrew.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying
He
we
always gets on my like I can't even.
you can speak, but I'm saying
No,
we have a
I
time
can't.
limit.
Don't
and
give
then
them that
we'll be here
power.
for we'll be here for hours.
It's just like government. You don't give other people your power. That's your power. So if you have something
Yeah.
to say,
You're right.
you should be able to voice
You're right.
it
You're
because
right.
it's your opinion does matter. Your voice does matter.
Yes, you're right.
And it matters when you go to the polls. And that's the problem.
Vote me out.
We have had people that say, "Oh, I don't vote. I don't get involved in politics. They're gonna do what they want to do," only because we allow it. If we don't allow it, it won't happen.
Well, let me say something there. So we believe. I'm just gonna throw anybody. We believe in Shelley for years. We vote Shelley in Congress. Shelley doesn't do what she wants to do, but she's there for 4 years. So even if she didn't live up, she got that position for 4 years. 4 years is a long time to sit there and not do anything.
But you
So
always
we
do
only
a
have the
recall.
power. We only have the power on the 4th year. On the 5th year, I guess the voter out.
No.
Because she's not doing. I mean, unless we're gonna like go some back road and do some other thing. Most likely, she's gonna sit in that position for 4
Well,
years.
then that's one thing too.
So it's hard to even get anyone out because they're now appointed.
But I think that's what we need to rally behind a lot too. Is just notifying people of everything that voting entails. Also, because that is true. A lot of us, and you can go even deeper than just feeling like that doesn't matter, and look as to why a lot of people feel like it doesn't matter. Nobody never changed the fact that we're like, what, 3/10 of a vote or something like that? Or, like we are one whole black person is still not a full vote. But at the same time, there's so much more people of color than, anything else that even if all of us got together, then it would matter because everybody who's feeling like they don't matter because they're only a piece of a vote and my piece, your piece, his piece, you know what I mean?
But our pieces together is what got Obama in office.
Right, and that's what
Our
I'm saying.
pieces together
I
is
wish I took that piece back.
is what turned the state of Georgia from red to blue. Our vote is very powerful. It's personal for me, and it's the most precious thing because blood was shared. Because I have a right to vote. Our ancestors, they fought for us to have a right to vote, for us to not sit at the back of the bus, and now we value sitting on the back of the bus more than we do being front and center fighting for what's right. We have to change that mindset. It's okay to sit in the back of the bus.
I think it became cool.
Right.
Yeah.
The
became
thing of it is, sitting on the back of the bus doesn't mean that you got to stand back and let everything happen to you.
Right.
It's just, listen, I have work getting done in my house, right? Seriously. And I picked the black people, like their insurance came, and then, they subcontracted. So I picked the black people, and they, have caused me hell. So I had to fire them. I don't want them back in my house, right?
Okay.
They broke this, broke that. I don't want them back here. They brought in the Mexicans. My house got back together.
But you know what? And
it's like you give them a chance, and they don't even. It's like they fail.
Well,
Seriously.
But we need to have a lot of.
Hold on, but she did exactly what you said to do. She voted out the person not doing the job. You brought in who the next person you thought.
I took the black dudes.
No, it didn't. I mean, I get what you're saying, the race, but I mean, it could.
Yeah,
be
I
anything.
took them. I said I wanted them to do it.
Right.
I wanted
Right.
them to get the work, and they failed me. Like broke my stuff, try to lie, act like they didn't break it, all that.
But I want to say this real quick, and I know we're running for time. So someone asked, do you feel like District 6 receives less funding due to the majority of racial population being African American? I wanted to say something first before I turn the question over to you, and I'll repeat it again. And I'm going to try to talk as fast as I can. But do I feel like we get less funding because of that? No, I don't. And the sad reason as to why I don't feel like we get less funding as a district is because I'm on this app, this neighborhood app or whatever, and so that's how I kind of figured out what area I was in, because I'm not really in Metro West, but I'm not really in Windermere, but I'm not really like I'm like on the cusp of a few different places or whatever. So it's a little difficult. So I download this app anyways, And most of the people on the app is whites and Hispanics. Now they do a lot of blabbering and a lot of their little racial stuff. Yes, a lot of little racial stuff, a lot of blabbering, stuff like that. But for the overall, it's a decent little app. They're always talking about town hall meetings and everything like that or whatever. And I popped through one of them real quick just one day just to see. And they're the same district as me, and I just found out that I'm District 6. The thing is, when you go into those meetings, it's all only white people and Spanish people. We don't go to those meetings.
Exactly.
So even if the district gets the same amount as every other district, the people who are talking about their problems and bringing those problems to the people who are the representatives in there, the money's getting allocated to them. So it'll come to the whole district, but white people's getting it, Spanish people's getting it for whatever their causes are because they're the ones that's bringing the causes
showing
forward.
Up, yes.
So we have issues.
Why do we have to push
but it goes with both what both of y'all are saying. Because yes, we need it, and yes, there are things that we need to do, and we need to have those outlets and stuff. But at the same time, you have to be self-sufficient, and you have to be assertive. Because if you don't get up for yourself and stand up for yourself and speak out for yourself, you'll never have it, no matter if it's handed to you or not. You know.
Yeah, so let me tell you something about how the county and the city of Orlando does meetings. The city of Orlando holds meetings at 2:00 in the afternoon. Most people are at work. However, if you want to know and you have access to the internet, you can see what goes on in those meetings. Orange County have their meetings at 9 a.m. Most people are still at work. It's designed that way so that people say, oh, well, I can't make the meetings because I got to go to work. However, you have to motivate yourself or you have to make the time. We make the time for anything we want. If we want that new pair of sneakers or that TV for Black Friday, we standing our butts in that line at 5 a.m.
That's what I'm saying.
But the thing of it is priorities. What are your priorities? Is your priority your community or is it that color TV? Is your priority that community or is it that pair of shoes that them Jordans that just coming out? It's all about priorities. See that it.
No, but no, it's all about choices too. Because like Tim was saying the other day, like if your kid, if some parents, your children have children like 15, like me, you gotta go, right? Mm-hmm. You have chosen something. That's a decision you made, right? Mm-hmm. So why, if that adult has chosen not to work or has chosen not to do that, we gotta keep babying them.
Let me tell you why.
Because when we got integrated,
here's more stuff.
Let me tell you what.
We got integrated into what the world sees us. That Barbie doll, that blonde-haired, blue-eyed person. We idolize that stuff instead of go back into the values of our ancestors. So if all I think about is I gotta turn my eyes blue, those are priorities and choices that I made versus when we were segregated, we had pride and we were self-motivated to be successful. We lost that when we became integrated into society because we're trying to live up to the standards of the Joneses.
No, but Ms. Harris, I'm not just talking about I'm talking about as parents. When our kids become 18, if they decide to keep making certain choices,
integration did that to us because when we were segregated,
giving them information on what they need to do. When we were
segregated, we had each other and we relied on each other. Families live together. You see that with Hispanic people. When they come over, the Mexicans, for example, they come over, it could be 20 people in one house and it's no problem. It became problematic for black folks when we became integrated because that's what black people did. You got married, you and your husband still live with your family, and you pooled your money together until you were able to move out. It wasn't,
that is how I see it. I'm not kicking out my
somebody
kids.
Made you feel bad.
I don't care what
happens. Because you had a baby at 15. I live with my parents. I live with my parents. My parents don't live with me.
Yeah, my parents
but
do not
I
kick me
care
out.
for my parents. But a lot of people, if they don't know the backstory of why I live with my parents, they'll say, "Oh, she just lives with her parents and this and that." It's not because I don't have to live with them. I live with them because
you're taking care of them.
I have a responsibility to them.
Right.
I can live wherever I want to. But if you don't understand and know that, it's a bunch of people out there, oh, she lived with her parents, she this, that, and the other. Well, I could care less what they think. I could care less that you think that there's something hidden. There's no embarrassment to me, and it's definitely not an embarrassment to my parents. Because if it was, I wouldn't be with my parents. It's the mindset that people chose to have once they became integrated. They made living at home with your family and taking care of your family collectively and bonding and doing the things that you needed to do, they made that an embarrassment. Who came up with that? Somebody did, and we started believing and buying into the garbage.
I'm talking about the basics when your 18-year-old son is selling drugs and you keep telling him to bring his ass inside and he keep going outside. Are you going to keep giving him pamphlets on why he needs to stop selling drugs?
Oh, absolutely not. Don't, sometimes you have to have tough love and make sure that, okay, well, if you can't do this, you can't do that, and abide by my rules in my house, you got to go.
And I think a lot of those people.
But then there are some people that co-sign for the foolishness.
Well,
all right,
okay,
so
to sum it up. Listen, to sum it up. I agree with both of them, and this is why.
No.
I'm saying.
Answer a question because we're in the last.
Well, it's the question, but what I'm saying is.
Ask the question again. Ask the question again so she can answer it. Then we can continue.
All right. But I'm still gonna say what I want to say. Tear it down, give them resources. Do you feel like District 6 receives less funding due to the majority of racial population being African American?
I feel that there are some funding that we deserve because they use our demographics to get that funding, but then it's distributed in other places. Like I said, we have equality, we don't have equity. And there's a difference between having equity and equality. I can split up the pot 6 ways. However, there are certain things that I may need in my district more so than other people. Like my roads need to be fixed. We have a problem with flooding in our district. Other districts don't have that issue. So I think that money should be allocated for those purposes. So if we're just splitting the pot equally, and I still need another $40 million in my district to combat flooding, then we don't have equity. We just have equality. We don't ask for the right things a lot of times. We say, oh, well, we want a seat at the table. Well, I can have a seat at the table, but are you going to feed me when I get to the table? If you don't feed me when I get to the table, I just got a seat at the table. We have to know what we're asking for. It's like when somebody is murdered by a cop and we say, oh, well, we want to arrest. We don't ask for the conviction. We don't ask for the things that go along with being arrested.
Right, so they'll arrest them, put them on a temporary hold, let them out.
Right, they arrested them to appease you. But if you don't say, well, I want them arrested, I want them fired, I want them charged with a crime, I want them to serve some time, we're not asking for beyond an arrest. We have to know what to ask for and not let our emotions take the best of us by saying, oh, well, we want that cop arrested. Okay, DA, state attorney, I'll arrest him, but I'm going to let him go because all you asked me for was an arrest. No, I want a conviction. I want him fired. I want all of these things to take place so that justice is served. We have to make sure that we're specific in what we ask for.
So again, we're talking with Cynthia Harris, who's running for District 6 Commissioner. So when you're elected, do you also sit in the hearings about the prices of things like the stores, the toll road? Do you actually sit in on those tables where right now there's inflation happening, right? So we know prices are going up. Everything's like twice the price it was a couple years ago because of what's just happening in the world. Do you get to sit in that and make any decisions to combat that, like the housing prices has shot up?
What I can do is work with legislation to make sure that trickle down because that's beyond the scope of a commissioner's job. Now, right now in the commissioner's seat, Emily Bonilla has proposed a moratorium for rent cap. and that rent cap is for 1 year. If we have that rent cap for 1 year that's imposed on landlords, that may offset some of the burden that we have. We can propose moratoriums, but we can't really change that. That's a law that has to go beyond the scope of that. That has to be something that's done in the legislation. So you work with your state rep, you work with your state senate, you work with your house rep and your house senate to make sure that laws are changed so that they trickle down so that you're within the scope and the boundaries of your position.
So would you say it's true that at this part in the government, to me, it seems like there is the Republican and Democrats, and they're split on everything, right? So Democrats believe one way, Republicans. So if the governor is Republican, wouldn't everything just go down along the line of that Republican district, even trickling down to your districts, of the 6 commissioners that you said are now elected? Wouldn't it be like, okay, so they're Republican, we'll allow them their funds?
If they're in the majority, yes. So typically, like, we have a Republican governor. We have a Republican-led House and Senate majority. We have to change that voting pool of representatives. So if we want change, again, if we need somebody to be our voice, we have to vet the proper people.
Right, so will your voice be heard is what I'm saying.
My voice can be heard. You can be very vocal about it. Whether it changes or not is not totally within 100% of my control. I can only speak for the people that I represent. The people that I represent have to have my back as well.
That might be a new slogan, the people's representative.
So, all right. And here's the one of the questions that they're asking in the world now. There is gun violence that is affecting everyone right now. So children, and speaking to my daughters, and they're like, oh, that's why we were happy not to go to school. So now school is open up, and now shootings have gone up more. And, so how do you think, or what do you think your plans are to combat that?
Well, I believe that everyone has a right to bear arms. I am a gun holder. However, I believe that anybody that possesses a gun should be properly educated. Right now, there is no education, no requirements for a person to own a gun. However, you have to look at what I said earlier. Everything that we don't want is in our communities. The gun show is held every other month right at the fairgrounds. It's not secure. In 2015, they broke in there and they stole plenty of guns. And they're in our community now. So we have a bunch of loose guns there. I think that if you're going to change the requirement from 18 to 21, that they should be properly training. I don't think that anybody should have weapons of mass destruction like AR-15s.
Yeah,
AR-15s are very powerful weapons. Yeah. I think that if you're going to be a gun owner, you can have a 9, you can have a 45, you can have a 22.
38. I'm just saying.
No, but yeah.
I did add, though, that if you have domestic violence charge, you can.
Right.
Yeah, but that's still nothing. You can, but I agree with her, though, because I feel like there has to be some type of guidelines, because they're not going to take it away. Our white folks, no offense, is never going to allow that to be taken away fully. So we have to put something in place to kind of offset a little bit, because we have all these crazies going and getting guns and doing mass shootings, or all these gangs getting guns, and they have kids younger and younger and younger that they putting on the streets now with these weapons. So
even with some of the proposals are a mental health questionnaire, where there is one in Florida. Do you have any mental health? But because of HIPAA, you don't have to disclose your mental health issues. So they're protected under HIPAA to not have to disclose it. But how many people are going to tell you that they crazy? It's just not going to happen.
Right.
They're not going to volunteer, oh, by the way, I'm schizophrenic. Oh, by the way, I'm bipolar. Oh, by the way, I was in an institution. They're not going to admit that. So my thing is, proposing a mental health questionnaire is worthless.
Well, it's hard to.
Well,
I
it's
would
not the
say-
questionnaire that needs to go under mental health. Like actually have like a write-off that says this
However,
person is mentally capable of owning.
But they
that.
can tag your name to anything else. Why not tag your name
Well,
to that?
here's
what
the way
about the
that
people?
we got
What
away
about the
with
people
it.
that already have a weapon? So they already
Well,
have it, having those issues.
Here's something. When George Zimmerman was on trial, there was his psychiatrist that said he had mental health issues. Well, now that's public record because HIPAA goes out the way. They didn't take his guns away, but they were supposed to because now in an open court of law for the whole world to see, he was able to, his psychiatrist was able to talk about his mental health issues publicly. There was no HIPAA violation. However, at the end of the day, this man was still toting around the country, going to NRA gun shows and everything else, when the law clearly states that he's supposed to have his guns taken away. But nobody has held him accountable for that. They see it, but nobody did anything. And that's why it's up to us when issues like that happen. You know that George Zimmerman should not have a gun because now his mental health is now public record. The law says that if you have mental health issues, that you're not supposed to have a gun. However, nobody has done anything about that. So there's so many things that happen. Look at Donald Trump. He has openly and publicly did so many things that violated the law. But if that was something that you and I did, we'd be under the jailhouse right now.
Well, I mean, it looks like Florida's trying to pass or looking into the gun laws. I heard something was being, looks like the government is looking into the gun laws too. I don't think they're taking away anybody's gun. I don't think they're stopping the AR-15. I don't think they're stopping. They're just looking into more mental thinking and just making it a little bit stiffer to actually get a gun. But we're not here for that. And Cynthia, I want you to let the people know what they need to do to be able to can vote for you. Because when the ballots come out, how do they find out to vote for you? Is it Cynthia Harris? Will you just be on the ballots?
So early vote starts August 8th. And it ends on August 21st. Election day is August 23rd. You can vote at early vote. You can vote by absentee ballot. You have to request your absentee ballot through the supervisor of elections. When you get your absentee ballot, if you choose to vote absentee, you don't have to put a stamp on it. Just give it to your mail carrier. Don't let anybody come and pick up your absentee ballot. I know that people have come to other people's houses and they picked up grandma's absentee ballot and they picked up Uncle Joe's absentee ballot. Don't give your ballot in, because that's like money. You wouldn't just give money to a stranger. Don't give your absentee ballot to a stranger. So you can vote absentee ballot, but be wise about it.
Real quick, can you explain to everybody what the absentee is for, what the absentee ballot is?
Okay, the absentee ballot is when you don't have the ability or you choose not to go to the polls and actually vote on a machine. So they will send you your ballot by mail to you. You take that ballot and you mark the person of your choice on there. You don't require a stamp. A lot of people, it used to be that a stamp was required. You don't, in Orange County, our tax dollars pay for that stamp. So you give that ballot back to your mail carrier or you turn it in to the supervisor of election. So that's what an absentee ballot does. Or maybe you're out the country, or maybe you're gonna have surgery and you're not going to make it to the polls. Different circumstances will prevent you from actually going to vote on a machine.
And this is across the board with any kind of election.
That's correct. So that's what an absentee ballot does. You don't let anybody pick it up because you wouldn't let a stranger come to your house and you just hand them some money and let them go about their business. Because you don't know what happens in between them putting it in their hand and whether or not it's going to make it to the supervisor's office. If you put it in the mail, you know that that mail carrier is responsible for making sure that ballot gets there and your vote is counted. Early vote is usually 21 days before the election. So like I said, August 8th through the 21st is early vote. You typically vote at a library, any library in Orange County, or you vote at the supervisor of elections office. You only can do that then. On election day, you have to vote in your precinct. So I live in precinct 625. The designated place for 625 is usually Orla Vista Chamber of Commerce. That would be the location that I would vote at.
So how do people find out their locations?
The supervisor election will be sending out a sample ballot to you. On that,
Everybody's address within certain districts.
right. So wherever you are in the county, if you're in District 6, you'll get a sample ballot that'll have my name on it. It'll have the other races on there, the governor's race and congressional offices. And at the bottom, it will say where you're going to vote at. So if you're voting early vote, like I said, you can vote at just about any library. If you're going to vote at the poll on election day, it will have the location of where you're supposed to vote on election day.
So we're going to vote for her, right?
Cynthia
she already
Harris.
put the information out there, what she's going to require.
And it's on the screen.
And she even made sure, she said, if she doesn't do the job in 4 years, we know what to do, right? So, Cynthia,
And
thank
if
you
she
for
doesn't do it
joining.
in 2 years, we're gonna do something too.
And that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to hold me accountable because remember, you hire me. You can fire me.
Yep.
We can fire her, but we also want to understand that she does have to understand the people above her.
Yeah.
And, so it is a chain of command along the way. So
That is correct.
And
You
we
know,
thank you for coming out here and
definitely
speaking with
thank
us.
you, yeah. And a
And
lot of
explaining
information
some
that we did not
things.
know.
Yeah.
And Shelley, I'm never against you.
So you
What
can
time?
donate, you can volunteer.
Holy.
So, I don't turn down help. So you can get in contact with me. Let's make Cynthia Harris the household name for District 6.
Yep.
Right. Okay, so tell us what's your social media.
My Instagram is Elect Cynthia. My Twitter is Harris, the number 4 OC6. I'm on LinkedIn under Cynthia Harris. I'm under Facebook, Cynthia Harris for County Commissioner.
She has a great biography. If you want to read it, I read it. You went to Evans. I went to Evans too. So
Go Trojans.
All right. So thanks for joining us the show. Shelley, give them the
Guys,
extra.
it's Pillow Talk. Please like, share, subscribe,
And comment.
woohoo! Good night.
Good night.